Hi guys, welcome to my channel. This is your horoscope for the full moon in Aries, which is happening on 20th October 2021, which is a Wednesday. So let me place this moon on the chart first and then we'll talk about it. The sun and the moon are in opposition, and this is what a full moon is, right? When the sun and the moon oppose one another. And this full moon is happening in the sign of Aries, and typically a full moon is a point in the month that represents a release. It represents a point of clarity, a point of culmination and completion. And Aries is the sign that is all about beginnings, taking action, getting things done. So, this full moon has a lot of energy connected to taking action, beginning things, starting things, and getting things done. And this is also the full moon where four planets are direct, right? The new moon in Libra on October 6th had all these four planets retrograde. Last month, the full moon in Pisces had three planets retrograde that are direct this month. And I bring this up because direct planets are about forward movement. And this full moon, first being in Aries, second being on a day where all these four planets are direct, Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury, means that it is really about starting things, taking action, and getting things done, because Aries is a sign ruled by Mars, which is all about these things as well. And now I will very quickly go over the aspects of this moon and then I'll close it out. So, this full moon is making an aspect with Mars. As you can see, the sun is conjunct Mars, the moon is opposing Mars, right? And Mars is the ruler of Aries. And what is this energy? This energy, okay, let me break it down. The sun is our soul, it's our identity, right? It's our consciousness. And Mars is about taking action, beginning things, starting things. And the moon is our inner heart and soul. So, this is a moon where we can really start something afresh when it comes to our identity, or take action towards our identity, or move forward when it comes to something connected to who we are, our soul, or consciousness. And that is the energy. However, I do want to mention that since Mars is opposing the moon, this full moon, although has a lot of energy about taking action, getting things done, moving forward, maybe starting something new, absolutely new, it also has the tendency to create anger and frustration, because a full moon energy, typically speaking, is not easy, right? It's the sun, our soul, opposing the moon, our emotions. So there is that inner tug of war, so to speak, going on. And through that, we release, and through that, we get some clarity. But now Mars is involved, and Mars is opposing the moon, which means that there is a tendency to get angry and frustrated as well. And this aspect here with the sun conjuncting Mars can really help us start new things, but it can really also make us angry and frustrated. So that tendency is there. And I don't think I mentioned this, but this full moon's happening at 27 degrees of Aries. So look at your chart for 27 degrees of Aries, and that's the area this full moon will highlight for you, personally speaking. And I should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video. Now moving on to the next thing. Next aspect this full moon is making is a square to Pluto, 90-degree angle. And Mars here is also in an almost exact square to Pluto. And Pluto is the planet of complete transformation. It's the planet of catharsis. It's also the planet of purification in many ways, Pluto. So this full moon will require us to transform. It will require us to release a lot of things, right? Because that's what a full moon generally is. But with Pluto catharsis, it's an emotional cleansing of sort. Pluto is cleansing as well. It's catharsis, it's purification. So that's the energy as well. And to put it very simply, this full moon is about taking action, yes, but it's also about transforming ourselves, changing ourselves. And on the flip side, this full moon can bring about a lot of anger and frustration because of because the sun is conjuncting Mars, but also because Mars is squaring Pluto, right? And that can bring about a lot of intensity, a lot of anger, a lot of competition as well, so to speak. But personally speaking, these could be feelings, these could be energies of feeling very frustrated. And moving on, the next important thing on this full moon is that Mars is still in a trine with Jupiter, which means that through transformation with the square to Pluto, through taking action, starting new things with the conjunction to Mars, there is something positive because Mars is trining Jupiter and the full moon, and the sun is trining Jupiter and the moon is sextiling Jupiter. So there is a blessing at the end of it. And moving on, I will speak about two more aspects and then we'll close it out because I want to give you the essence in as concise a way as possible. So the next important thing I do want to mention is does not technically involve the moon, but it is happening, right? So we'll be feeling this. Mercury is still opposing Chiron, right? And this can be a feeling of feeling wounded. This can be a feeling of feeling a little bit of pain at moments, and that's because Mercury is our mind, and Chiron is the planet of our wounds, our pain. It's also how we heal. So, this is, and Mercury has been opposing Chiron for a few days now, and it will for a few more days, which means mentally we are coming face to face with our pain, with our wounds, and we have to heal that. We have to heal that pain, but the feeling is not very pleasant, right? Because we do have to face our pain to heal it, but that feeling is not always pleasant, although we are healing from it. So that's another underlying thing that's going on with this full moon, is that we might feel wounded. We might feel wounded, and those wounds or that feeling of feeling wounded can prevent us from taking action, which is what is required on this full moon. And if we don't take that action, that can manifest as anger and frustration. So don't let those feelings of feeling wounded, feeling victimized, feeling hurt stop you from taking action and moving forward or going after what you want. And this feeling can come in bursts, the feeling of feeling wounded, because Uranus is quincunxing this energy, right? And Uranus is a lot of energy, but it's a lot of energy in bursts. So one moment you can feel wounded, another moment you can feel, all right, I'm all right, I feel good. Another moment you're feeling okay. That pain is creeping back up. So it's that sort of vibe. So don't let this stop you from going after what you want, doing what you love, and really taking that action, because it is required. Firstly, it's a full moon in Aries. Aries is about new beginnings, right? Because it's the first zodiac sign. Pisces is where we close out the past, and which is what we did in a very powerful way with the full moon in Pisces on September 20th last month. We started to close out the past. And that full moon was a full moon where most planets were retrograde, right? Mercury was still direct, but all the planets that have come direct this month were retrograde. So it was really an energy about closing out the past. And now this is an energy about new beginnings, beginning new things. But our pain, the feeling of feeling wounded, can stop us from going after those things, because Mars is initiative, right? Mars goes after what it wants. So we have that energy, a lot of it, with the square to Pluto and trine to Jupiter. But what can hold us back is this aspect of feeling wounded, feeling the pain, feeling like, okay, I don't feel like it. So don't let that stop you. And moving on, the next thing, the last aspect that I want to speak about is that Uranus here is quincunxing Venus. We spoke about this yesterday. Venus is the planet that rules our relationships and projects and how we feel about ourselves. And Uranus is the planet of sudden changes, unexpected changes. It's also the planet that helps us embrace our true authentic self, because it gets rid of anything that prevents us from being our authentic self. And Uranus doesn't care whether you like it or not. If it's a hindrance, if it's an obstacle in you being your true self, Uranus will get rid of it. And Uranus here is quincunxing Venus, making an aspect with our relationships, with our projects, with how we feel about ourselves. So this might be an energy where we might be asked to change things, let go of things connected to our relationships and projects, or just a feeling about how we feel about ourselves that's not serving us anymore. That's not in our truth. That's not in our true nature. Uranus may say, hey, that's not you. Time to get rid of it. Whether that's an emotion, whether that's a feeling of how you feel about yourself, Venus, whether that's your project, whether that's a skill that you're learning or wanting to learn, or whether that's a relationship. So that's the last aspect that I will speak about for this video. And the next thing I want to mention before I put all this in one concise statement to sum up what this energy is that we had a new moon in April, new moon in Aries in the month of April. Sorry about that. And that new moon brought in a lot of new energy. Yes, every year the zodiac begins with April, with the Aries energy, but this year was different because in March of this year we closed out the past in a very powerful way, and then in September that was a complete closing out of the past. In March of this year we started to close out the past that has been here with us not for a year, for a much longer time. And September was the final closing out of that past, of that energy. So in April, after we began to close out the past in a very powerful way, in March of 2021, a new energy entered our lives. And you can call it a new life, you can call it a new beginning. Basically, it was a new energy. And this is the full moon where we will gain some sort of clarity about what that energy was. It'll become clear to us because a full moon is also the brightest night of the month. That's when we can see the most clearly. A new moon is where we are in the dark in many ways. So what happened in April was a new moon in Aries. We had a new beginning, but we were in the dark about what that beginning was, right? And now the full moon's out, so we can see what that beginning was in a clearer way, see what that energy was, see what that shift was, see whatever it is you planted back then. And that's becoming clear with this full moon. And that's pretty much it. So to sum it up, I would say that this is a moon that requires transformation. It requires taking action. It requires initiative. And that might feel a little challenging because of a feeling of feeling wounded, a feeling of feeling victimized. And after the transformation, or as we transform, as we take action, begin things, there is some blessing. On the flip side, there's always a flip side, right? There's always a positive, there's always a negative. On the flip side, with so much fire, with so much Mars and Pluto, there is always a tendency of getting angry, of getting frustrated, of a lot of competition as well. Mars is competitive as well. So to sum it up, I would say that this moon will require us to transform. It will require us to take action. It will require initiative. And there is an element of holding back because we might feel hurt, we might feel wounded, we might feel victimized in certain ways. But there is something positive if we move forward and take action and get things done, either it's a blessing or a lesson as well. And this moon can also really involve our relationships and projects and how we feel about ourselves, because Venus is involved. It's conjuncting Uranus. It's not aspecting the moon directly, so to speak, but it is involved. And that's all I'm going to say. I will pick a few cards for this moon. Illumination. And I think this is referring to the fact that it is a full moon. Full moon is the brightest night of the month. It is a night where we can see things clearly, and that only happens when there's illumination. And there is a faint moon, full moon here. I don't know if you can see it, but I think that's what the energy is saying, that we'll be able to see things clearly as we can on every full moon, and this is no different. But I think with the square to Pluto, Pluto is purification, it's catharsis, it's transformation, yes, but it's also purification and catharsis. And to do Pluto's work, right, to do the work of Pluto, we really need to dig deep and illuminate what's inside us so that we can release those feelings, release that pain, whatever it is. I think this is that as well. But more than anything, this is a point of clarity. Clarity about whatever we planted and seeded in the month of April, or whatever energy started to come into your life in the month of April. Something flipped. Blessings, and I think this is Jupiter. So this moon has blessings. It may feel very intense, and it may feel like a moon that makes us angry and makes us frustrated and is very, very intense, because digging deep into our emotions and transforming is not easy, and Mars can get angry and frustrated. But there's always a positive, and this is saying that there's a blessing. Pleasure. And I think this card is maybe saying that I really don't know what this card is saying, because pleasure is okay. Maybe it's this. Maybe this moon, because we'll start getting some forward movement. We'll move with all the planets direct. Maybe it's a feeling of feeling good. Maybe it's a feeling of feeling happy, right? Because there are blessings, something is coming to light, and maybe that is giving us some pleasure, whatever that is. But I will say it again, that this moon can get angry and frustrated. And I'm just saying that so that we can manage our own emotions. So, success. So, all positive cards. I think this is a positive moon with a tendency of getting angry. So, I think this card says it all, right? That this is a point where we begin things, where we start things, where we might find some success even. All positive cards, all positive cards. I'm gonna go with one more. Something flipped somewhere. Trust. And we got this the other day as well. And I think we just have to trust in ourselves, have faith in ourselves, because the Mercury Chiron opposition can really make us feel wounded, make us feel like we're not good enough. And that's not true, right? That's not true. Because we must trust in our innate abilities, we must trust in our innate wisdom, and there is something coming to light on this full moon. Maybe just our deep emotions, maybe something else, I don't know, but it is a positive one. There is blessings. This is Jupiter, blessings or lessons, and it's a moon that can make us happy, I would say, and lead to success. So, all positive cards for this full moon, although it is in a square to Pluto, which can feel very intense. And the sun is conjunct Mars, which is intense again. I think if we manage the intensity, the tendency to get angry and frustrated well, we can really channel that Martian energy into taking action, and that action might really make us feel good. So that's all I'm going to say. And I do have my moon at 22 degrees of Aries, so I am feeling these energies very intensely. Mars is opposing my moon, Pluto has been squaring it. So, yeah, I feel these energies very intensely. So, it's definitely an energy that will require us to transform, take action, get things done. Otherwise, it is an energy that can leave us frustrated. So I hope you have a good full moon, and I will see you tomorrow for the daily video. Bye.